Good afternoon, and welcome to my presentation on Stone Butch Blues. My name is Naomi, and I made a really cool playlist, and I'm excited to talk about it. So the playlist itself is or was 20 songs at the time that I made this. It's just over an hour. I chose songs for their lyrics specifically, but also for their overall vibe. I'm pretty strict about making literary playlists and like the songs I pick. As you can see by the fact that I did literary analysis on the lyrics of the songs. And then I first adapted the book into a playlist for my radio show on November 12th, and then I've been tweaking it since then. Major themes include longing, self hatred, and then mirrored directly self love, body dysmorphia, love and sex, societal pressure, and violence. I also made a little collage cover for the playlist. I like to do this. It helps me kind of get my thoughts in order, I think, and like pick what symbols I think are really important. And then also the Spotify code if you want to listen along. I'll be discussing three songs today as it works best with the time split. They are I'll Pays Do Cocaine by Geese, Don't You Touch Me by Soko, and Cool Dry Place by Katie Kirby. So without further ado, let's dive right in. First up is All Pays Do Cocaine by Geese. The song came out in 2025. Themes that I think really encapsulate the song are evolution, being true to yourself, love and longing, and societal pressure. Sounds like Jess to me. And going through some of the lyrics and how I think they relate to the text. First off, you can stay with me and nobody would care. Jess finds refuge in queer bars and then her chosen family, where she doesn't have to explain herself or her identity or how she feels because they understand it. Her relationships with Teresa and later Ruth offer her emotional shelter and unconditional presence. And then you can stay with me and pretend I'm not there. Jess often needs quiet companionship after her trauma, especially in situations where she doesn't want to or has no idea how to talk about the situation that just happened. Her partners have to understand that sometimes she needs someone nearby without interaction or pressure. And then, like a sailor in a big green coat, Jess's masculine clothing functions not only as her identity, but as emotional armor. Her heavy coats, work jackets, and factory uniforms symbolize protection, freedom, and also self presentation, especially in the latter half of the novel. You can be free and still come home. Jess learns she can explore her gender identity without losing community or love. Her relationships with people within the queer community show that change and freedom do not require her to be exiled. The second song I'll be discussing is Don't You Touch Me by Soko from the 2015 album I Want to Be an Alien. Themes in this song are touch, self doubt, and longing. Some of the relevant lyrics include It's not a game to find the soulmate of your life. Jess's relationships show how hard it is to find someone who can hold her full identity, emotionally, socially, and physically. The novel emphasizes how love is not simple for Jess because of her trauma, her gender expression, and societal hostility towards the queer community and, honestly, women at large. And then It's Not Worth the Gamble because I always lose. Jess repeatedly experiences loss. Partners leave, relationships break under pressure, or safety becomes impossible for her. One of the most impactful moments in the entire novel to me was Jess watching her apartment burn down and describing each and every one of the items that she could remember and like imagining the way that they were being destroyed. The emotional risks of intimacy often feel too high for Jess, leading her to pull back to protect herself or for her partners to do the same. And then lastly, but don't you touch me because it means so much to me. Physical touch is deeply loaded for Jess, especially after violence and including dysphoria. Touch can be comforting, but also overwhelming, and her partners have to navigate consent, trauma, and emotional sensitivity, like in the identity of Stone Butch. Um, for Jess, touch is meaningful precisely because it is typically rare. It's in moments of vulnerability, and for her, oftentimes it's either tied to safety or the lack of safety. It can be tied to very specific traumas. The third and final song I'll be discussing today is Cool Dry Place by Katie Kirby in 2020. Themes in the song are love and doubt, acceptance, and societal pressure. I absolutely adore this song. If you listen to any of the songs on this that I've discussed, I recommend this one. It's one of my favorites. It is also one of Hannah's favorites, so if that tells you anything. Firstly, if my head on your shoulder is not too much weight. Jess often worries that her emotional needs and trauma are a burden on her partners or the people around her. Her relationships highlight her fear of asking for comfort, where she wants closeness but doubts she deserves it. And then the lyric, "Would you keep me in a cool, dry place?" echoes her longing for a safe and quiet refuge from the outside world, things like violence and dysphoria. Um, it also suggests her need for stability and gentleness, something that she seeks but rarely finds. She's typically the one giving comfort to her partner, and whether that's from her, experience of being Butch, or if that's something that she does for herself to try to preserve some safety. Um, and then you're going to get more of me than you bargained for. Jess fears that her partners don't fully understand what loving a butch, especially one with her life experience, entails. She has a complex identity, a history of trauma, and she's emotionally guarded, which typically or often strain her closest relationships, even though she obviously doesn't want that to happen. And then lastly, all the ways we can go wrong. Almost all of her relationships are shaped by external pressures: homophobia, gender policing, violence, class struggle, and more. The novel constantly shows how going wrong isn't necessarily about incompatibility, but about the world making intimacy dangerous for people like Jess. I really enjoyed making this playlist, and Stone Butch Blues is probably in the top 3 books I've ever read, ever, period. And I super, super enjoyed doing this and getting to really get into the nitty gritty of the analysis of why I picked each of these songs, because it really is kind of what goes through my mind when I'm making these playlists. And like, it is what I talk about on my radio show. So if you're interested in listening to me talk about whatever book, movie, or thing that I'm into at that moment, tune in to Glutton for Punishment. It is my radio show. It is Wednesdays at 7 p.m. I have a show tomorrow. It's going to be my Christmas episode. Me and my roommate are just going to have a good time and play some wintry tunes. So tune in on the WMWC radio app or on the website. Thank you so much for a wonderful semester, and I hope you have a wonderful break.